All right. Oh, there's my voice.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. It's me, Danny, baby. I am in Denver Community Media recording a podcast for you all to listen to if you want to. You don't have to. But anyway, I'm sitting with Drew, one of the most kindred spirits that I've come to know. And we're just going to take a quick little second to stim it out before we get into conversation. So any little noise you want to make, let's let it happen. Dee 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 dee
Yo,
dee dee dee
hey.
dee dee boo dee dee.
This is more me just wanting to have a cool sounding low voice.
I really like it. You got the
Yeah,
crackle.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me in your studio that you prepared for me to be in, and then me interviewing you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is incredible. So basically, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory on how we met, which was a whopping like 6 months ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Because it was at the BIPOC.
Yeah, the creators thing after the podcast movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yep, I'm going to come back in. I want to record with you all. And then it was a few months, and then I did fulfill my word. So I came
did.
in.
Yeah.
And you have just been one of, honestly, it has become like a necessity for me to be in here once a week at the minimum.
Yeah.
Just the joy that you enhance in my life and how much you contribute to the community. It just really resonates within my moral compass. And so, first of all, I just want to give you honor where it's due because you're a very brilliant, earnest spirit. And I
thank
just
you.
want you to know that.
Thank you, likewise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into a little bit of a conversation because
Cool.
this is how I do things. I have to keep looking at the camera because I like to see what button I'm pushing. Look at you up there.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, technology.
It is amazing. So in the fact that I only know you in this space, which is Denver Community Media, I would actually love to learn a bit more as to why this became like your path. The way that I see you is that this isn't like necessarily that career thing that you feel in drudgery. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what inspired you to be this part of the community?
So I guess I'll try to make it short.
You don't have to.
Okay. Well, when it was supposed to be like 2006. I was like an advertising and PR major in college.
Okay.
My buddy got like an iMac and a video camera. And we just started shooting videos and stuff. So I really took to it. I was obsessed with it. And then I was also working for the visitor center at the school I went to, like giving campus tours.
Okay.
So I know how to walk backwards really well. Funny story about that. I almost got, right before we got the video camera, I almost got fired for going on a slip and slide in the middle of a tour. I took off my shirt and everything. But anyway, so I was kind of tasked with putting together these sort of visitor center videos. So I built together kind of a cool reel, and then this internship with the Broncos popped up, and I got it, and then I was like, well, there's no way they're gonna offer it to me, and I got the gig. It was crazy. So and then I just kind of worked in sports ever since. I spent some time there, and then I spent some time doing freelance, kind of just working on TV trucks and stuff. And then I took a little siesta from production and worked for Apple for a while. For for 3 years.
Friend.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
And then I got a job with working at a. It's kind of hard. It's kind of a mouthful. It's the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So I was doing they had a TV show called Cattleman to Cattleman.
Okay.
So I worked with them. Yeah, I worked in the beef industry for a while, and then after that I just kind of spent some quality years in active addiction, and then
Those are quality.
And then I got on with the Rockies, and then I worked there full time. And then got the job here. And it's just, for working here, it was just something I think that was always missing in live productions. You're behind the scenes. And there's not a lot of like connection to people, and that's like something I always like really missed.
Yeah.
And I knew the person who kind of like started this program from freelancing, and she was like, "I knew you're at the Rockies now. I don't know if you're planning on leaving." And it was in the middle of COVID, and I was like, I absolutely am wanting to leave.
Yeah.
So she told me all about it, and I was like, it couldn't have been a more perfect fit, because like, I don't know, I just miss like being with people and like hearing back to the Apple Store. When I was working at the Apple Store, it was like this young group of creatives, like all kind of trying to make it.
Right.
And it was like something I always like really missed, you know? And it was like, that was kind of like my knowledge of like engineering and production mixed with the people thing. It was like all in here, and it's like exceeded all my expectations. It's been so rad. So like fulfilling, like I feel very useful.
Yeah.
You know, I think like when I was at Coors Field, I just, you're just like a cog in the machine. It's like, you're getting the Coke sign to work right, and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's cool. It's just here. It's like, I really feel like I'm like moving the needle,
Yeah.
even if it's a small needle, but
I love that.
but it's great.
Though.
I
mean,
it truly is. Yeah.
I think that with like kind of the age that we're in now, and it's funny, like I sound like an old fogey or something, but like the age that we're in now, it's like our generation is really desiring that connection, because we had it like when we were younger. Then we went into this new wave of technology that felt like it was connecting us, and it absolutely was. But then I think that there's like this deep desire to connect further as people are telling their stories and living in their stories. And so it's like those two things combined now have us in this space. And you do a really fantastic job of facilitating energy in just even in this room, being, and I don't know if this is fair to say, but to me, you're like the face of Denver community media for me. It's what I look forward to coming in, because I just know it's a very safe space, and just like your inclusion to like, let me just be honest, I'm a spectrum. I'm just a spectrum, okay? And you literally just like give me the room to express that. Yeah. But at the same time, showing curiosity to what it is that I do, which just lets me know that you're always curious about yourself. And so that's why it's just so fun to sit with you today, because you've taught me how to do some of these things. I'm still learning, and you don't like, push like, this is how you do it. You're like, oh, express it the way you want to. And like, I can make what I can make happen. And I think that is like something that a lot of creatives need, if you will, is just like, well, let me show you the tools, but move from there. So anyway, since that was like the realm you wanted to enter as a young lad, do you remember as a young person, was there anything like a TV show, a commercial, or anything that stuck out to you that just like, someday I'm going to be the voice of that, or the behind the scenes or front of that?
Yeah, I think it's like two things, and they're both really obscure. I've always been like obsessed with the Olympics.
Okay.
Like it's like a weird thing.
That's not weird. I love the Olympics.
Yeah, I always just thought like the production of it, like especially the opening ceremonies, was like the coolest thing, and I was always like more into like how it all worked.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what really turned me on to like live events and stuff.
Are we talking winter or summer Olympics, though?
I think either, but summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason, immediately when I think of the Olympics, just for the time period that of my age, it was like Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding, Oksana Bayul.
Yes, totally.
They did a triple sow count.
Yeah. Do you like? I remember Dominique Moceanu. Do you know who that is? Yeah. I remember like, how like some girls get around like boy band members, like, oh, I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna meet and fall in love with this person. Like, it's like that real.
Yeah.
I like thought that about Dominique Moceanu.
Okay.
I'm like, I think I was going to San Francisco because I fenced growing up. Which
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. That is a skill. I've gone to a couple, what do they call them? Meets or matches?
Yeah, matches.
I've gone to some because it's so brilliant.
Yeah.
So, wow.
But I was in Santa Clara, San Francisco area, and I was like, I'm gonna meet her. We're gonna like become a thing.
Yeah.
That's how weird it was. So anyway, the Olympics, and then I saw this E-Trade commercial once. And it was like, I think it was just like the garage door opened, and it was like I think it was like a couple monkeys and a dog playing in a band. And the whole ad was like, we just wasted $2 million on a Super Bowl ad. What are you doing with your money?
Okay.
And I just thought that was so rad.
That's a good twist. Yeah, I like
and
that.
I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to like, I was always like really attracted to like irreverent sort of like ad type stuff, like being able to be like the square peg in the round hole kind of thing, like being like the kind of like punk rock kind of like version in a corporate world. That whole thing always really like, I don't know, jazzed me up.
I love that.
Yeah.
So as a young person, what, like, if you could like be in a parallel with yourself as that young version of yourself, what would you say to your older version?
Man, I don't, I honestly think about this stuff a lot. And I think it would just be like we'll get there,
Yeah.
just stick to it. Like, don't lose hope, and it'll be a really weird road, but we'll get there.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's funny to be in that, like, that parallel space of like, you're like, wow, I actually did kind of follow just like where that thought, even from like the Olympic moment to knowing now, and now you're working in such a community space.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't lose hope. I like that.
It's just kind of weird, I think I just like said a yes to a lot of stuff, and like I'm just always been really curious about life and people, and
Same.
so it's like the door's open. I'm like, let's try this out for a while,
That's probably like another big connecting piece for me with you, is that you have a lot of curiosity.
Yeah.
I think as young people, we initially end up getting robbed of our curiosity and our wonder, you know? And then there's just instances that like we can't be curious about things because it's dangerous, but hence to those beautiful, wonderful years of active addiction.
Holler.
But I think the really brilliant portion of it is that it still provided a space for you to understand community and why it's necessary, and however you dealt with your active addiction and things like that. Because mine was a windy road with that all too. But anyway, to get back to the point of curiosity and wonder, as children, we do live vicariously through ourselves until we are, told to like stop that, don't do that, and then we have nurture and guidance like come into play. So out of your nurture and guidance and all of that, is there in how you've kind of like reframed and continue becoming yourself, is there spaces that you have no's you've learned, and there's like a no, like an absolute no to things that you won't do?
I don't know. I like, that's a great question. 'Cause I think about like my wife is sober or isn't sober, and she like drinks and smokes and stuff. And she was always like, oh, is it like concerning for you? And I was like, no, it's like my thing. It's like, this is like, I should be able to like move in a colorful world, where like people are doing certain things. So like, in terms of like no's, I don't think so really that I can think of just like, I think, I mean, is that what you mean? Just like, I'm trying to think of like, what would I like my hard no's? That's a great question.
Yeah, even like career moves. Like if someone, just kind of all encompassing. Because I think sometimes when we're like in an active addiction way, we tend to run over people, or we get run over. And so when you come out of instances like that, it's like, do you have hard no's to something? Like,
yeah. I mean, I have definitely, I don't know, because like, I think like in terms of career, I think I've stopped. I think men get this a lot, is like, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to be my own boss, and I'm going to, I don't know, just that kind of vibe. And I think that grass is always greener thing has kind of left me. So like, and I tend to like, I don't know, stray away from like people that are really in that and try to loop me in. That's like something, but I don't know, I guess, I don't know. I know to cynicism. I guess that's something that I try to actively stay away from. That's I don't know. That's tough, man.
I know. It's just like curiosity
because
again.
I know, and I almost feel like I'm like sort of like positive to a fault, where I'm like, yeah, sure,
right.
Like
or like something that could be damaging. Like it's so awkward
Yeah.
with how people can like approach us with it. And we
Yeah.
don't want them to feel, because we do that thing where we have so much perspective and we don't want to like put them in a space of feeling wrong for their
Yeah.
doings, you know, but it like affects us. But I think like you were saying, like once you just kind of come to that space in yourself, you're just like, I'm curious, I've already been there, but I'm not like, it's not a thing for me anymore. I'm curious how I operate around it. You know?
That's exactly it. Because I think that's why I've always been like really attracted to like comedians.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can be put in any sort of scenario and you can thrive, you know?
Right.
And I think the power of, at least for me, of getting sober is that it's made me way more easy to move about the world. So it's like, I want to think I can like kind of float from tribe to tribe or
Right.
job to, not job to job, but like people,
Yeah. I think that was kind of like in high school and stuff, I was like popular for being the outspoken loser, you know, like
Yeah. Sure.
there's like jocks
Yeah.
and the preps.
Sure.
I don't even know if those are terms in schools
yeah,
anymore.
right.
I have no
Yeah.
idea, but
The socias.
yeah. And then there was like, me just like being the existent weirdo that I was, which
Sure.
I like adore myself for it now. But back then it was painful. It was so awkward. And I was so curious about people, but they weren't curious about me. They just judged
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So I didn't get that reciprocation of curiosity as a kid. And now I do. And so it's like my inner child just gets to come out and be
Yeah.
like, let me teach you about what it was like to be me, you know?
Yeah.
But no, and I know that you just spoke to about your wife, and you obviously you've told me too that you have a couple of kiddos.
Yeah.
Do you think that enhances the space in you to have more of that tender understanding for your younger self?
Yeah.
And just kind of staying more in their curious zone too, so you're not depriving their curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I like learned early on that like as a parent, your kids aren't like, I don't know, like a bucket to put your like auxiliary undealt with bullshit
Yeah.
into,
Oh, that's a really beautiful way to.
I don't
say
know.
that.
I just like kind of, I don't know. I like value my individuality so much and like my independence that that's something I've tried to promote, like with my daughter, especially. And it's really like paid off. I mean, she's like one of one, man. And
Yeah.
she's just like really thriving and it's just, I don't know, loved, and so yeah, I think it's made me a lot more. I think that's why when I hear like, oh, what do I like say no to? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I have such like an empathetic, open mind, more, not only being like 10 years sober, but being a dad now. It's
Yeah.
like, there's
10 years, Ren?
yeah,
That's incredible.
10 years is wild. September 11th, weirdest
Wow.
sobriety date ever.
Wow.
And people are always like, oh, were you in the service? I'm like, no, I'm just a weirdo.
Hey, but you'll never forget that number.
Yeah,
Never
rock bottom on
forget,
September 11th, or September 10th.
That's really beautiful.
It's been amazing. Like, I think I was like skeptical when my wife and I first got married. I'm like, are we even going to have kids? And I don't know. It's just been unreal.
You're creating a wonderful community.
Yeah.
And as an empathetic person, it's also because I kind of feel the same way. I feel like I'm not a leader, but I lead by example.
Sure.
And that's for my younger self, like you didn't have this representation, and I'm not, we're not going to dive into all of that because that's super personal, but just being in the realm of like fatherhood, there's that sense again of like living vicariously in the nurture that maybe you wished that you had or you did have as a young person, and you're doing those things, giving your children the ability to remain curious.
Yeah.
Which is our intellect, and these formidable years of, our young upbringing, having that leadership without it being leadership really is so important because it gives them the ability to know they have power over their own minds, governing over their own body, the autonomy that they should have. And we need more men like that.
Yeah. I think like I've been really trying to like be active in that role in my daughters. Like, it's one thing to come from her mom, of course, but I think to come from like a male figure, I think is, even like her teacher told me the other day, she's like, I just love how she defends herself.
That's
like,
so beautiful.
and like keeps like has agency over herself.
Yeah.
And she told me the other day, she was like, one of the kids told me that my cheeks look chubby when I smile. And I said, you tell him that he doesn't need to talk about your body, okay? And then you kick him in the nuts, you know? And I was like, obviously she rolls her eyes, but like, I mean, the first part is like, you know, just trying. It's cool, like
Yeah.
learning along the way and just like, I don't know. And I just love like this generation of dads too.
Yeah.
Like I have such a good group of friends that are like, you know, raised by boomer dads that like struggle to say I love you.
Right.
You know, and like, I mean, I feel like I've hugged my kids like collectively more in 4 years than my parents ever did, you know?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, it's real.
it
It's
is.
So I don't know. And a lot of my friends are just like crying little cuddle puddles, you
Yeah.
know? You know, and it's been great. It's been like a good to like kind of have like a little bit of a village.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we can, I think, kind of like how I'm hearing that you like grew into your community, creating it at
Yeah.
the same time, because I think the the thought is nice. Like, yes, community's out there. I'm just going to go join a community. And sometimes it just isn't available for us
Yeah.
because, you know, of like our no's and our yeses and just our behaviors and who we are and what our moral compass is. So then to get into a space where it starts gravitating these cool little people to us, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is like a little village of people. We're all
Yeah.
here like collectively raising the vibration for our children, for our
Totally.
younger selves.
Yeah.
But to speak to what you were saying about like what it was like to have parents from that generation, you know, I'm there too. I rarely remember my mother really embracing me. It was more out of the obligation or like it was in front of people, you know, but then like behind the scenes it wasn't. So
Yeah.
that part was really confusing. So like the consistency of like how the nurture exists for you and your kiddos and your wife, that's really brilliant. I just had to dig into that story a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like my dad like hugged me and kissed me, you know, but I think it was like, the like conversations and like being
Right.
heard. I think that was really like,
The active listening.
yeah, yeah. Boomers are just all across the board terrible at that.
It's another level. I'm like,
I mean, it's
I
like,
saw a
I'm
meme
so
the other
sorry, guys.
I saw a meme the other day and it said, my wife, it was like a dad's joke thing. And it said, my wife said, are you even listening to me? Did you hear anything I said? And he goes, well, that's such a weird way to start a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
And, but a lot of times that, you know, I could literally, I remember being like, trying to tell my parents something and I could tell that they weren't paying attention. So I just start talking about something super random and be across the board and they'd be like, oh, okay, wow. Okay. That's, you know, so I didn't have active listening. And I think, I find it really peculiar that you're in the industry that you're in and you want to connect with people so to that level that your active listening and emotional intelligence really shows.
Oh,
You read a room very, very well. You know, like
Yeah.
there's been instances where like I get afraid of like, okay, I'm going to introduce people to people and I'm just like, oh God, if they're not on my moral compass, this could be really awkward.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to preface like, hey,
Sure.
they don't use inclusive language. They don't give a shit. They're going to tell you like it is.
Sure.
You know, because we're a representation of each other sometimes in like
Absolutely.
professional ways or friendship ways. And so it's never been the case. Anybody that comes in here, they're like, oh my God, like Leslie from
Yeah.
our Vada Center just had a really beautiful experience. And again, connecting these community pieces to be the voice of our community. And the behind the scenes is almost more important than the front because it's, to me, because it provides safety for me to vocalize, which has brought a lot of healing for me. So if you didn't exist the way that you did, that you do, I wouldn't be able to facilitate these kind of conversations, you know, and put you on the spot today talking about your family.
Yeah. I did have a no that popped up though.
Okay, let's hear it. I want to
Yeah.
hear this.
I mean, I think it's just like this like version of guy. I think that this like golf, like don't actively listen to my wife.
Oh, right.
You know, like golf to get away, kind of like overworked, busy, that guy.
Yeah.
You
That's a
know?
no for you.
That's a hard no. I I like went on a trip with a bunch of like my friends from high school, and there was a lot of that. And I'm like, now I don't know. I know I don't hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you just hear, and I don't know the candor with all of that, but
it's just the vibes are just like, I'm like, I'm not, this person doesn't live here anymore, you know?
I love that you say that because as we become the other versions of ourselves and we really move into that space and become aware of it, it almost gives us the ick that we even put up with that before.
Absolutely.
Like I get the ick about like, why didn't you say something that was so bad? And like, you know, or like sticking up for another person. It's never really about myself. It's just like, I was such an observer as a kid that I could see like, okay, that person's getting bullied or that person. But if I got it, like I could like come out of myself knowing like I wouldn't think about myself first. It was always that instant. So I'm sure that like across the board, I feel like in this age of parenthood, like you were just saying, like this group of people that you have, that's a really beautiful community versus like, okay, I went to school with these types of folks that are still becoming like the boomer generation, but like arrogant in it. Like, oh, I still work and my wife works too, but that's their job. I'm going to go over here and be this way, you know?
It's like the group that doesn't change diapers. Like those kind of guys.
Yeah.
You know?
We're not doing that.
No, no, I think that's a great look. It's like they are just becoming boomers.
We all are,
yeah. You know?
And sometimes people really just follow that nurture path. Again, nurture doesn't always include that it is love. It's just the way we're raised. And so some people stray away from that or literally follow the guidebook that they were shown, you know, and because of our curiosity, we're like, no, we want to do something a little different. Like I don't want to yuck this until I, you know, like I don't want to yuck this yum for other people, but it doesn't work for me and I'm getting the ick and I'm going to move over here.
Yeah.
So
I think that was like one of the things I think that I found a lot of like honor in getting sober was like, this is such a cool opportunity for me to like put on like a new branch of my family tree.
Yeah.
You know, like go like a different route.
Yeah.
And I think like, I don't know, I think I'm just trying to do that in a natural sort of like organic way. Like, it's just be my authentic self, you know?
Yeah. And our authentic selves get to change. Like even the stuff that I did like 5-6 years ago, and then even the stuff I did 20 years ago, I'm like, ooh, I'm so far removed from that behavior, but it definitely brought me to have this behavior now. So I want to honor it, but also like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
I know. Yeah. That's what's so beautiful, I think, about this whole life thing. It's just being able to, I don't know, keep growing.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like I'm not one way, or I'm not. It's like I can change.
Absolutely. Know? It lets you know you have your mind is yours,
yes,
you know?
Absolutely. I'm like bound by nothing. Like I can like do whatever I want, you know?
Right. And that's a testament to like you finding your, I guess the word niche, finding the things that actually enhance your joy, right? Because people aren't the source of your joy. They can enhance it, but you just have this very intrinsic way of existing in joy. And so then when I see you and we just, you know, do a little bopping around and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like there's like a levity to your spirit that it's like, I know that other people don't really control that, but will also put you in a reflective space, you know? So it's just like, okay, I know maybe I'm not the source of this. It doesn't root with me. And it's hard to have all that perspective and then be in a parallel with your younger self and be like, okay, I know you'd react this way. So now I have to have like, you know, 5 people telling you in your head of the versions that you were like, what are you going to do here? You know, and you get to learn that part. But just moving in and out of family things into like career-wise here at DCM, just to bring that in, you all have a really beautiful team here. And I came in like, I would say like almost a year and a half ago. Initially, I was recording with Julius. And it just didn't seem as like, it's something happened in the last year in here that I feel the community so much more vibrant and understanding and actively listening to the community. And so I think that's kind of attributing to you because that's kind of like the shift in time, I think. Is there anything that you desire to see more of in the development of what Denver community is that you're kind of like piloting forward or just some moves that you'd like to make that maybe anybody that's listening might want to connect to that?
Yeah, I think to like create more of a space for people to like hang out for like commune, you know?
Yeah.
Like not to just to like drop in. I'm not like putting pressure on you to
No, I
figure
want to
out
do
after
that.
this,
I'm
but-
like, so I can
but
just
ju-
come here
yeah,
anytime.
Yeah, but just to like hang out, you know, and like I think like meet other creators and like I think that's something that has just really benefited my life is just such a diversity of like opinions and ways of life and that hopefully that could like I don't know. That's something I'd love to see more of.
Yeah.
Of just like it more being just like this chaos like in here and we're just like you come for your appointment, we gotta weave through people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I
and
like
I'm me
that.
introducing you to like new people
love-
and like you connecting that way. I think that would be like I think my ideal situation.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's just people just wanting to level up. I think that would be like nice. It's kind of like what take the next step in their podcast. And I
Yeah.
think for us to provide more resources, classes, workshops, and stuff to help with that, maybe bring in some like other podcasters like that have more of like an established following. I don't know, you know, it's kind of like that's what I think is really nice about this place is that they're very open to the evolution of this place. You know, it's not like this one set thing and we just
Right.
kind of ride the storm out, you know.
Yeah.
It's like being nimble is I think essential.
That's a great
Yeah.
word. That's so true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you all have like a really great like little entrance area here.
Yeah.
It's like safe, you know, because
Yeah.
downtown can be a little funky sometimes.
yeah.
So I feel very safe around this building.
Sure.
But just in general, like energetically, I feel a really beautiful reciprocation. But I do agree with you. I would definitely be here if there was that. So maybe we should work on that. friend.
Yeah, I
I'll
know.
help.
I know, right? I was like, because I even floated the idea of like, should we get like a nice coffee maker? Like, we get, like somebody can sit back there and make lattes and like make it
Right.
like a whole
yeah.
thing, or
Like a
just
little
have
banter session.
yeah,
you
something.
know?
I don't know what the answer is, but you know, hopefully, like when this like budget sort of crisis kind of subsides, I think we can look into more of that stuff.
Okay.
We did like do you know Adam Vickerell?
I don't.
He's like a muralist around town. He does a
Okay.
lot of like the Colorado Crush stuff.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a few, but he came in and did a tour to like do a mural in here.
okay.
You know, so we might paint. You know, the seeds are planted.
Yeah,
It's just- but it's
absolutely. And we're heading
Yeah.
into spring, so
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
could
right. I
blossom?
know, it's-
Because y'all have like a great parking lot. We
Yeah.
could do like some outdoor as
Totally.
the summer starts. But
yeah, rooftop.
I always forget that location exists.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a great area too. You could do like live stuff up there.
Yeah, yeah, and I would like to. I don't know. I have a soft spot for the the addicted and
Yeah.
the dregs. I
Yeah.
guess I just say that because I am one, but just like kind of reaching out to more like Step 13 and like like Aspen House and like places like that could like come in and do content or just like
Yeah.
learn that like not just like I don't know like get your story out there even if it's not. I don't know. I love hearing those stories. So I don't know if that would be a cool work program for people to like kind of
Yeah.
like learn how to do this stuff. Or,
Oh, I love that. I love the heart that you have for active addiction and houseless individuals because I spent some time in that. My vice was more on the alcohol end. And then I did have a stint of time where I was legit on these streets here about 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That was an interesting space, and I feel very lucky that I was safe, but that's not a lot of people's stories, especially as, those that are perceived as female. So, and I think that just like your awareness around that there needs to be more of like, not just the empathy side, but just like almost like the instructional side of like, hey, like here's some steps that maybe will help you find joy again versus
Yeah.
it having like such a religious base. And I'm not here to yuck that yum for people. But again, just that portion of, some people just feel very unworthy. So bringing like that whole concept in sometimes really detours people. But it's almost like them finding themselves as the nurture themselves and empowering them to do that by actively listening to their stories. My purpose being in podcasting, and again, I'll say this, I didn't I had never listened to a podcast, and I recorded my first one without ever having listening to a full podcast.
That's awesome.
And I just, because I felt like I needed to tell my own story to myself, I recognized as I was starting to like, I mean, the sober journey is a really interesting one because I didn't really come, like I stopped drinking, but I didn't go into the healing of that portion until like 2 years after that. So I'm like 3 years actively healing why I chose alcohol, you know, why I used it as a coping mechanism and a masking tool. And so in that space, I had, you know, earlier not really had a voice or autonomy over myself. And then I came into a space of like becoming aware that I did, and then started to actively heal. And the last thing was like really just like, again, telling my story to myself, because I would forget, I would sit and listen to people all the time, and they'd be like, I got kicked out because I was gay. And I'm like, wow, I could never imagine that. I literally went through that though. And I forgot that I did because I had empathy for so many other stories that I just didn't realize I had that. And so I end up like, I need to do something about my voice. So I was like, I'm just going to start recording a podcast. And that's for me been the healing portion. Like we can all say like, well, I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I'd love to make money off of this. I would just love to sustain myself to continue doing this and giving people that option to like hear themselves, tell themselves something, you know? So it's more about like, I don't want to make money off my community. I want to make money with my community, just highlighting, you know, the existence that we all are. Because none of us know the answers.
Yeah.
We're all so uniquely different. None of us know. And so that was just the healing portion in me, was listening back to my podcasts, or like even hearing myself say some things like right now, I'm like, whoa, like I hear growth in myself. That's weird, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But we sometimes just wait for another person to tell us that versus like we can tell ourselves that, you know, we're in that age where we have that now.
Yeah, that's so huge. And I do think like if we could just, I don't know, I think, and we were talking about this sort of like before this, but just like to get the confidence just to like come to a safe space and just be able to go and express yourself and have the people there, community members, staff be like, me too, man.
Right.
But we're, you know, let's hit record and let's like let's get your story out to the world, because I remember when I was like first getting sober, I was like, I was so hungry for that. I'm like, I need to know that I'm not in this by myself.
Right.
I was like Googling like celebrities that are sober. I'm like, oh, cool, Bradley Cooper's sober.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, he seems cool, you know. But even just that was important.
No, that is
know?
important. And
Yeah, and when I was sort of like, I just got employed with the Rockies, and the guy who was the manager at the time was like 30 years sober, and like seeing him just like live out loud about his sobriety and be like a leader among men and kind of thing was also like very huge for me. And I like, it was really cool. Like I think like a couple years into sobriety, I like got to meet him and tell him that. And we like had a long embrace, and he saw my wife and was like, you get to be who you were always meant to be for her now, and all this shit.
That's
and
so
was just
beautiful.
like, it was just a really cool moment. But yeah, I just think it's important to share. Just
I
tell your
agree.
story, you know, it doesn't have to be like this award-winning podcast by any means.
Right. It's just like,
I don't even think that's what this place is. You know?
No.
I think it's just like a sounding board
right.
for people to, I don't know, feel like they
You're
belong.
definitely sparking
you know?
a lot of minds to those like award-winning spaces, but
Yeah.
the award for myself is like, you know, like the award and the reward is getting to connect on the community level, because I wouldn't be as earnest on this microphone if I didn't have this.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something that you are creating inside of here.
Yeah.
So I just like really hope that you're giving yourself some goddamn credit.
Yeah, no,
because like
I do. Yeah, I think so. I think it's just so funny, because I think when it's like built into my DNA now that it feels like it's not work.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, this is just what this place should naturally be.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't feel like I'm putting in an effort, you know, which I think is just a product of my experiences and stuff. So it's like,
I love that. A product of your experiences.
I don't know.
That's really good.
Maybe.
I mean, that's probably because too, you're also actively listening to yourself and the things that maybe you weren't, it's not about like, okay, I was denied that as a young person. It was just like, one day I will have that. And I think sometimes we really kind of put ourselves in a space of like, I was denied. We have a lot of, like, if you look at the language of where we're at in understanding humanity in mental health, is there's a lot of like attachment and abandonment issues. There's hardly any secure relationships because we just speak to a past self so much of like, I didn't have that. But you got your curiosity and your wonder got taken away. So you feel like you're never gonna have that.
Totally.
Whereas I feel like it is unique of people to become their own representation for themselves. And so with that, I need to know what would you now say to your, there's like levels that I would want you to, because you told from your younger self, you were like, don't give up, don't lose hope. But now that you're here and where you're at right now, what would you say to that version, that young child, now that you're here, where maybe you didn't know you were going to get to?
Oh, yeah. So if like my younger self was talking to my older self?
Well, yourself now talking to your younger self. We didn't lose hope.
Yeah. I think it'd be like, I don't know, that I'm just proud of you, I think, for sticking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I don't know. I don't know, like stay unique, like being weird is what makes you powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that. But I want to know now, what is your definition of weird? What is that to you?
Well, I don't know. I guess more like I was just unique. I was like
I'm weird. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
so.
I was like, I was in musical theater, but I was kind of like, I don't know, I guess part of the popular kids, I guess. So that was always weird. Like all my friends were like playing sports and I was like in theater, which was very beneficial for a straight male.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on now.
The pool was, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I just was always like into weird things and I just was like, just different, I guess.
I love that.
I was the mascot.
I love
I like made up my own. This is in high school, but yeah, in college I was just, a mess. But I think I was still, on the unique side. I think it was just like, I think that I just straddled both lines so much that I was like trying to fit in on both sides. It was always like really weird. I wish I could have just been like, be like, you are the niche,
Right.
you are the uniqueness.
Right.
I think that's like really when it hit for me was like that I don't need to like, I don't know, be always like improving myself or trying to fit in somewhere in order to be valuable.
Right.
I can just be
living vicariously through yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's sort of like, I don't know, like when you like ask a question that you already know the answer to, I felt like that's what I was doing with myself.
Yeah,
like,
that
you know the way to go, but you're like kind of chicken shit to just pick a side or really be you, like have confidence, like.
Or maybe there isn't a side. Maybe you're making a whole new one.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's really it. It's like really carving your own path.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean that's kind of a roundabout answer. But,
I like it.
Yeah.
No, my ADHD followed that.
Okay,
so thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, the atomoxetine is kicking in.
I love it. Well, I just want to, again, say thank you so much for the safe space that you've created here at Denver Community Media. And I'm not trying to put you just as that's your identity here. Sure. It's just so cool that I get to interview you or just sit in a conversation in the council with you today. Yeah. But at the same token, just like, I just want to, in a sense, give you your flowers. And I think that a lot of times relationships that men have with men or, assuming females have with men and male to female, whatever, as a non-binary person that literally doesn't have a line to follow, you do a really brilliant job existing as you do. I can tell just in your earnest movement, there's not like a fidgeting or an unease to like how you exist. You're just very full in it. And it really creates this like experience for everybody that walks through the door, but also as a reflection of just who you are out in the world. And so it's not even like this whole thing. Your consistency is to remaining kind, active listening, building on your emotional intelligence, and just allowing people to observe that. And you don't push that on folks. And it's just so brilliant. So
That really means a lot. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just...
Are we recording?
We
Just
are.
kidding. Just kidding. Have we started yet?
I literally was like, did I push the
kidding.
damn button?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
But this has just been a wonderful
Yeah.
conversation.
Yes,
Thank you for
absolutely.
sharing all of that. And I really like the no space that you spoke to today, because it just also kind of lets me like it's palpable for me.
Yeah.
I'm in that same way. And so again, I just got to learn a lot about you today,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
that. And we're going to keep
Yeah,
growing.
and let's do it again.
We're going to do
We
it
can do another
again.
one.
So I just want to remind you all, I didn't know what I was doing up until like 2-3 months ago. Drew came in, helped me out. This is at Denver Community Media, where I am filming, recording, producing. What else do we do?
Hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stimming.
Stimming. Vibing.
Yeah. It's all available at denvercommunitymedia.org. So if you want to check that out, again, I'm not here trying to do that, that toxic spirituality and be like, this is the steps you need to follow, and this is how you stay encouraged and do this. I'm just here simply telling my story. So if it resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, then we move along. But other than that, I just want y'all to know that this is where you can come in, find some healing in your voice, or listen to voices that may provide a healing space for you. So with that being said, I just want y'all to remember to continue creating earnestly in love. I'll talk to y'all soon.